What's going on, everyone? I am super excited to talk to Hugh Odom today with Vertical Consultants, and we're going to talk about something that not many people are talking about the telecommunications company. And for those that don't know, I know a lot of people are working from home because of COVID and kind of what the global economy is doing right now, but it's putting a lot of stress on just the telecommunications and why everyone's upgrading to 5G. But for those that don't know, Hugh, can you give a little bit of backstory of who you are and kind of what you do?
Sure. My name is Hugh Odom. I'm the president and founder of Vertical Consultants, and we work with property owners of all types, from individuals to churches, schools, to large corporations such as Walmart, McDonald's, Disney. So we have a wide variety of clientele, and our basis is that we work with property owners who either have an existing cell site agreement, whether it be a cell tower, rooftop equipment on their property, or if they've been approached for something like that by an AT&T, Verizon, or a tower company, we work with them to negotiate and structure the best overall deal for them now and going forward, and also protect their primary asset, that being their land or their building, etc.
That's amazing. So, like, I know there's a huge demand of working from home and working pretty much remotely. And where a lot of the United States is stuck at home and having to work, like I said, remotely. So what is that doing to the telecommunications infrastructure?
Well, it's putting a great strain on it, and it was already strained as is, because if you think about it, besides air, water, and food, the thing you rely upon most every day is a cell phone or some kind of
Right.
wireless device. And that has been intensified in the last 9 months, let's say, because people having to work from home and work remotely, go to school remotely, deal with health issues remotely, dealing with their doctors because of COVID and the restraints there. So it's put an enhanced stress on the existing wireless infrastructure that's built out by an AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. And what's happening now is you'll see, the 5G build out and things like that, but that is being intensified greatly because there's more people stressing the existing network. So there's a need for that network to not only speed up, but to expand quite dramatically. There was already a need for it, but this is just put gasoline on the existing fire that was already been lit.
Yeah, I feel like, well, just for an instance, we just bought a house in Prosper, Texas, and the service is horrible there. Like, I can't even like call anywhere. I can't get text messages. So there's definitely a need. And I know that you have some stats on your website about how much actual infrastructure is growing from upgrading from 4G to 5G. So there's a great opportunity for people to kind of cash in on this. So how can I just call up AT&T and be like, hey guys, I have this amazing place. I get no service, so I think you need to put a tower in my backyard, or how does that work?
Well, that's what we probably get contacted 300-400 times a week by property owners all around the United States saying, hey, I have a great this location. It's in Atlanta, in Las Vegas, in New York, wherever the case may be. And what we try to explain to people is there's going to be a great need for build out of new sites. And kind of, you're referencing some of the data we have on our website. And right now, approximately, there's about 400,000 cell sites in the United States. So that's either an existing cell tower, like you see when you drive down the road, or equipment on top of a roof, top of a building, et cetera. Before COVID, there was a plan to build out close to 1 million new 5G sites by 2025, approximately. So over double the amount of cell sites that were existing. Now, these are smaller sites, and the reason being they had to build out so many is 5G sites by themselves have a limited ability, a limited range, let's call it. So you're going to have to build a lot of sites just to densify the network. So whereas there was, people contacting us all the time about getting something on their property, you can't pick up the phone and say to AT&T, hey, I got this great location. You should put something out there. Think of it this way. AT&T doesn't go to a location and build their network around a property. They find a property that fits in their build-out plan.
That makes sense.
But with 5G rollout, you're going to see a lot of opportunity, especially for commercial property owners, or even residential. I classify that as kind of residential apartment buildings, things of that nature, that are in areas where you have a pent-up demand because of COVID, and even existing demand before COVID, because of the wireless infrastructure was like I said, already stressed out. So if a property owner gets contacted by somebody, That's usually how it works. They don't call in an AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile and say, have this property. But if a property owner gets contacted by somebody, they need to understand what the next steps are to not only get the most out of that day one, but over the life of that agreement. And also, as I mentioned very quickly earlier, how to protect their property as well. Because what happens a lot is they get so focused on, hey, somebody's offered me this much money to lease out my space. They don't really understand what they're agreeing to in exchange. And my background, just very quickly, is being a real estate and telecom attorney for over 20 years before I started Vertical Consultants. And we've been in business about 10 years. And I was an attorney inside AT&T for almost 11 years. Wow. And so we've seen it, and the people that make up this company have seen it from the inside of these companies. And we see not only the financial side of this, where the true value is to property owners they're not getting, but we also see what the problems property owners get into when they sign an agreement and get so focused on the money, they forget about what they're agreeing to and how that impacts not only the area they're leasing, but their entire building or their entire piece of land.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a potential eyesore, right? So which could kind of bring down the property value in a sense by doing that. But it could also be a revenue source. So that's why you hire someone like Vertical Consultants who can kind of guide you in the path of how to structure the deal the best way. So quick question for you. Since this whole COVID thing, people are obviously conspiracy theorists talk about how 5G is spreading COVID. Is that like a fake thing?
Well, I don't like we're not scientists or doctors over here. Right. We have engineers on staff, but yes, I mean, my personal opinion is yes. I mean, I always tell people we get a lot of questions from around the country, and they always ask about health and safety. You know, it's just generally in cell towers in general, even before 5G. And I always tell people you need to understand what's happening on your property. Our opinion is it does not cause a long-term health impact based upon what's out there right now. But I also say, look, I would feel more uncomfortable taking my kids to McDonald's every week than I would, nothing against McDonald's, but not I guess McDonald's or fast food place every week than I would having a cell tower on my property. Right. Because I think that is more of an impact. You have to think about it. If you have a cell tower, the equipment usually is 100 feet or more above the ground. It's not emitting radiation downward. It's outward. So there's a lot of things there that kind of are debunking some of these conspiracy theories out there. Yeah, but everybody has their opinion, has the right to their opinion.
No, it's totally true, and you have to think it's the frequency that it's actually emitting versus the actual like the radiation in a sense, because there's a huge difference between that. So just to kind of make a light joke about it. But so when, say for instance, I currently have 4G tower on my property, can I upgrade, or is that something you guys do where you kind of, I guess, renew the lease in a sense to upgrade to 5G, or would that make me more money, or how does that work?
Sure, that's a great question. What's going on a lot now is there's not only the build out of these additional sites, which we discussed very briefly, it's also what's happening with existing cell sites, especially on top of buildings and even existing cell towers. They're having to upgrade that equipment that exists already. And that allows at some point the property owner, whether it be a building owner or a piece of land, they own a piece of land that a cell tower is on, the ability sometimes to go back and renegotiate their agreement. The reason people can do this is because they need to think of this differently. Where people make the biggest mistake financially is they focus on this on a rent perspective, and they focus on it like like a real estate agreement. They say, hey, I'm renting out space. I'm renting this much space. I'm getting this much rent. I'm getting this escalator every year, and I'm agreeing to let's say a 25-year term. What they're actually agreeing to is a utility agreement. Think of it this way. If I came to you and I said, look, Brandon, I want to lease some portion of your property, and I don't want to pay you twice as much what you're getting from the cell tower company over here. Same amount of space, right? Same amount of space. But Brandon, I am not from a cell tower company. I'm not from AT&T, I'm not from Verizon, I'm not from T-Mobile. I'm from Exxon. And I want to put a drill out there, and I want to drill for oil. I'll give you 2 times what AT&T is paying you, but I get all the oil. Well, your first question probably be, how much oil are you going to be getting on my property, right? I want to get paid based on how much oil you're getting. So that's the same. People should be thinking about what's going on their property with a cell
Wow.
site. It's not how much space per se they're using; it's how much value they're getting from that space. And that's where the tower companies and the wireless carriers have been getting the advantage for the last 20+ years. Is they go out to property owners and get them to agree these real estate agreements, and they're working in the utility world. And so
Wow.
that's where we try to even the playing field. And when I talk to people, I say, look, don't think about rent. Think about structure, financial structure. Rent is a derivative of that. If I said your rent should be X today, that's what it should be today, not tomorrow or 10 years from now. And again, it's more thinking a bigger scope, because if you go back and you look at all these companies that build towers and put equipment on rooftops, they're making a lot of money. And it's because they've got the better end of these deals.
Wow, that is an amazing analogy actually about the oil. How they're actually making the profit off the oil, and if you're able to have a smaller footprint and they're making so much more money, I mean that's a no-brainer to come to you guys and actually have you guys kind of do the numbers and figure out what the value of that property is. I mean that just seems pretty insane. So like, how do people actually profit off of? Uh, is it just the lease agreement? I know you just talked about this, but like, what kind of numbers are we talking about here? Are we talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, or are we talking about because these telecommunication companies make a great deal of money? So how does that? Is it like revenue share? Is it just a straight check? How does that work?
Well, the majority of cell site agreements out there for cell towers or rooftop equipment on top of buildings is structured like a typical lease agreement, like you're leasing commercial space or even residential space. I pay you a amount of rent every month. I escalate that either annually or every so often, every 5 years or so. And if I am AT&T or Verizon, and if I keep on getting that additional value, I don't pay you anything additionally. Another, if I add a tenant, if I sublease out space, I don't pay you anything additionally. So what has to happen is, again, trying to get that structure of that agreement more tied into, as I said before, the value being derived. On average, we estimate that a property owner is underpaid over the life of a typical lease, which is about 20 years, close to $1 to $1.5 million less than they should be
Wow.
on average. Now, that varies quite dramatically. Now, on average, you're getting paid, the property owner is getting paid somewhere between 12 to 18 cents per dollar that's being generated out there for revenue. Okay. A very small fraction. And the problem is, so let's just meet that in the middle. Let's say I'm getting 15 cents of every dollar being generated from my property. The problem is that number is decreasing. The margins are increasing every year because of the way that's structured. They're making more and more money. You're getting less and less percentage of it. So that's the beauty of the telecom industry. And we always say the people on the other side, the people we negotiate against, are very smart, extremely smart. We don't we give them their props for being smart. We just don't agree with we don't agree with it. We don't agree with how they do it. And our job is, like I said before, is try to level that balancing act of the property owner and the telecom company, because it's a situation by which, you know, an AT&T, a Crown Castle, an American Tower, which are the largest tower companies, could go out and build 1,000 towers tomorrow. If they're not in the right location, they're worthless.
Right.
Exxon could go put 1,000,000 wells out or 1,000 wells out tomorrow. If they're not in the right location where oil is, they get nothing out of them. So
Exactly.
it's really it's a matching, a pairing of the property owner and the telecom company. We're just trying to make sure the property owner gets fair value for the use of their land.
That's amazing. So say I get approached
Mhm.
from AT&T, Verizon, or whatever these telecommunication companies are, and do I actually have to pay for the installation if they're going to pay me to rent the space, or do I have to maintain it? And how does that actually work?
Well, that's a good question. No, they're basically building the structure.
Okay.
They're going out and getting the permitting for everything, so they're handling all that. They should be handling all the maintenance and everything required for the actual structure itself. Where property owners need to understand about what they kind of look at this and say, "Oh, well, they're paying for everything. All I'm doing is let them use my land." You need to understand how this impacts your property with regards to the value of the property. It could devalue your overall property. the tax implications of you may have to pay additional taxes on that tower being out there because the tower's being out there.
Oh,
You
wow.
may have restrictions on future development of your property because of how the lease is structured. So there's a lot of things that property owners need to understand when they're entering into the agreements. It's not just what a tower company will do is say, you kind of won the lottery. It's free money. And I always say, if it's free money, then don't build anything out there and just give me the money. But it's not it's not free money, and that's where people get mistaken. There's some liabilities associated with this that they need to know about. Is it a good deal if you get it structured correctly? Yes, definitely. But if it's not structured correctly, at the end of the day, it'll come back to be a situation where you're getting a dollar in one hand and you're almost giving it away in the other hand. So
Well, and that's why it's so important to understand lease agreements and just agreements in general and contracts, because you can get in a bind, especially if you are like me, being a real estate owner. I have multiple properties, and if I don't know the terms of the agreement, then I'm not a lawyer. So having someone look over your shoulder and kind of being able to help you understand the language, because a lot of that language is very complex, and you're like, what does this even mean? And you can literally get yourself in some great legal trouble. So does say, for instance, I have a commercial building and I sell it off, does that contract follow the new owners, or does it follow me, or how does that work?
sure. Well, it can either, but mostly the vast number of situations like that, it would be sold and be part of the sale to the new owner. Now, that is good and bad in the situation by which if you have a piece of equipment on top of your roof, it's generating revenue, increases the value of your building, so you can sell the building for more. That's great.
Right.
But if you enter into an agreement per se, let's say I use this example with property owners or building owners more particularly, I say, look at your current agreement. Let's say I walked up, knocked on your door tomorrow, and you're leasing space on top of your rooftop to Verizon. I knock on your door. I want to buy your building. I say, Brandon, I'll offer you 10 times market value of your property. Sounds great, right? Hey, you'd be interested. I have one condition, Brandon. I need Verizon to move their equipment 10 feet on your rooftop. 90+% of all agreements out there do not provide a relocation situation by which if I want to buy your building and I want just to move some stuff around and I was going to offer you 10 times market value and all I want is Verizon to move that equipment 10 feet, you couldn't do it. You're at the mercy of that tenant.
Okay.
And so you have to really look at this, and where a cell site company, a cell tower company comes in, or a wireless carrier comes in, they get you to focus on that money for nothing. And also, hey, we're just using this area over here you're not using. They to minimize the impact.
Right.
So it is very important that you understand exactly what you're getting into, because especially with people in the real estate industry, it's some of the toughest clients we have, because it's like saying, hey, they're great baseball players. They play baseball every day. They're great. They're professionals at it, but they're being asked to play football. Some of those skills translate,
Right.
but the guy that plays football every day, he's going to beat you, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's what these cell tower companies do. That's what the wireless carriers do. They play football every day, and they're asking you to play a different game, and they get you to feel comfortable with it, and your ego kind of takes over, and that's where they get you.
I love that. So, say I have AT&T, they're in a contract with me. Is it just kind of like switching carriers in a sense? Could I be like, hey, I call up Verizon and like, hey, I have Hugh on the line. He's my lawyer. He wants to switch me over to your carrier service. Can I just switch like to a different company because the tower's already there, or do I need to actually eliminate that contract and say, switch to a different carrier in a sense?
Well, I'll answer this two different answers. First of all, under the vast majority of cell site agreements, you can't terminate the agreement with an AT&T Verizon. They lock you in. They get you commit long term. Okay,
wow.
That's number one. Secondly, because let's say you have a piece of equipment on top of your building and it's for Verizon, okay, that does not mean your building would be in a location that fits AT&T's network or T-Mobile's or whoever's. So that's where people sometimes say, hey, I have Verizon up there. Can we go get AT&T on the same building? Maybe, but it's very, your odds may go up just a little bit, not much.
Wow. So where can more people find out about if they have, say, a tower and they need to renegotiate their lease agreement or get it bought out or anything like that, where can more people find out about what you do and how you can actually serve them?
Sure. You can go to our website, which is celltowerleaseexperts.com. Again, that's celltowerleaseexperts.com. Our website is full of information regarding the industry, evaluation of sites, what to do when you're approached, and gives a contact information for our team to contact us and discuss either if you approach for a new lease or you have an existing one you have questions about. And, on average, just very quickly, on existing leases, we've been able to go in existing leases, and our average for the last 4 or 5 years has been immediately increasing revenue by over 300%. Three
Wow.
times, because it's understanding value, it's understanding utility, and we try to explain that to people. You have to play the right game to be able to win the game, and if you're playing the wrong game, you're never going to win the game.
No, that's amazing. Like having a instant 300% return. I mean, where can you get that anywhere? I mean, I'm happy with
Vegas,
yeah.
if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. And is that the best way to get in contact with you? Should you email you? Do you guys have like a schedule, or can they talk to you on Facebook? What's the best route, you think?
Best route is go to our website. You'll have multiple contact forms available to us. You can contact us on our 1-800 numbers, which is 877-456-4556.
Perfect. And I know you guys have an amazing chat bot on there too, which has some amazing ways to get even more information. So definitely check that out, and definitely check out Vertical Consultants. All the links will be in the description. Hugh, thank you so much. This is amazing. Great information for those that are looking to really upgrade their lease and utilize the power of what you guys are able to negotiate their tower lease for them. So again, Hugh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.